The Buffalo Bills are a handful of teams going into the 2021 season that are looked at around the league as one of the teams that are probably going to win the championship this year. I think it's really between the Bills, it's between the Chiefs, between the Buccaneers, between the Packers. Throw a little bit of Baltimore Ravens, throw a little bit of, there's maybe a little bit of Tennessee Titans with Julio Jones on the team, maybe. But there's about 5 or 6 teams that are looked at as real championship threats and contenders, and the Buffalo Bills are really one of those teams. Not only did they make the AFC Championship last year, not only did they give the Kansas City Chiefs a good run for their money during that AFC Championship game, but they really, honestly, at this time last year, I don't really think we saw the Buffalo Bills getting to that point. I think we knew Josh Allen was going to take the next step in his career. I think we knew that Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll were really the two coaches that, and Leslie Frazier for that matter, those coaches on that Buffalo Bills team are experienced. They know what to do in certain situations, and they were really good for the team. And then when you look at the skill guys that they brought in, they drafted Zach Moss, they traded for Stephon Diggs. They got some good players on the team that made a solid contribution for the team. And there's really no reason to think that any of these guys are going to be slowing down anytime soon for the team. I mean, Stephon Diggs is only 27. Gabriel Davis, who emerged as a number 3 receiver for the team, is only 21. Dawson Knox, the tight end, is 24. Devin Singletary is 23. Zach Moss is 23. Really, the only main guy who is a contributor for the team who is up there in age is Cole Beasley. And, he put up a 1,000-yard season last year at the age of 31. So I think that, he's still at 32 probably going to be a main guy for the team, get 750 plus yards, and be a reliable number 2 option for the team. So let's go ahead and talk about what the Buffalo Bills did and didn't do well last year statistically. What they did well, they did great at taking the ball away from the other team's offense. They did great at scoring. They were second in points. They were third in their own passing yards. And like I said, they were third in takeaways on the defensive side of the ball. But really, statistically, that's the only thing that you could say that the Buffalo Bills did exceptionally last year. Everything else was either slightly above average to below average. 20th in their own rushing yards, 20th in turnovers. They were 9th in sacks allowed, so that was good. But they were 13th in passing yards, 17th in rushing yards, 15th in sacks, and 16th in points allowed. This is a team that realized halfway through the year last year that the only way that they were going to be a championship contending team was if they put the ball in Josh Allen's hands and made him do major work against other teams' defenses. And it worked pretty much every single game except until they had to go against the Chiefs and they had to play defense. They can't play defense against a team like the Chiefs. They just couldn't. However, the Buffalo Bills are about halfway to being able to say that they can do the same kind of things that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to the Kansas City Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. They are already our third in takeaways, which was a big reason that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were good against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowls, because they were able to turn over the Kansas City Chiefs and put stops to their drives. The other part that isn't all the way there yet for the Buffalo Bills is the sacks, and they did draft Gregory Rousseau in the first round out of Miami. They did draft another D-end by the name of Carlos Basham out of Wake Forest, so possibly those two guys could end up giving them a little bit of juice when it comes to their sack totals. And if they're able to get those sack numbers into the top 5 and still have, a top 5 takeaway defense, then, like I said, they're going to be able to get to that championship level. Let's go ahead and talk about what is gone from last year on this team. Really not a lot. Andre Roberts is gone and John Brown are gone. 2 receivers who did decent things for the Bills last year, but are no means at all big losses for the team. Tyler Kroft is another name like that. Ty Nsekhe is another name like that. And Brian Winters, who alongside Ty Nsekhe kind of held down that right side of the line in moments last year. But like I said, they're not going to be guys you look at as major holes once they're gone. And the same thing can be said about the defensive guys that they lost. Safety Dean Barlow was basically a special teams contributor, and Quentin Jefferson was kind of just a rotation guy along that defensive line. Now let's talk about what the Buffalo Bills ended up gaining over the offseason. I already told you about Carlos Basham and Gregory Rousseau, who they ended up drafting in the first and second round of this year. However, they also made some really big moves when it comes to free agency. And this is a move that I'm going to talk about, and I understand that Josh Allen is the starting quarterback. I am in no way saying that the guy I'm going to talk about is going to push Josh Allen for that starting quarterback position. That's not even. If I said that, then I would hope that you came to my house and deleted my YouTube. But Mitchell Trubisky coming to this team does present a really good option for this team, because what it presents is someone who can probably show out in the playoffs, in the preseason. He can look good. If a team really wants to take a chance on Mitchell Trubisky, they can. However, the real good thing for this is that if Josh Allen does go down, the only guy that was on free agency, the only guy that really the Buffalo Bills could get their hands on that was the closest thing to Josh Allen as possible, and I'm in no way saying that Mitchell Trubisky is close to Josh Allen. Don't think that I'm saying that. But the closest guy that they could get their hands on was Mitchell Trubisky. You're talking about a guy who can get out of the pocket and make plays. He can show off his arm from time to time. He's not going to have the most accuracy in the world. And if you really just need Mitchell Trubisky to go in there and hand the ball off or make a few plays with his legs or throw the ball, short, he can do it. He's the closest thing to Josh Allen that they could have got, and that's a really good move, in my opinion. Now, a couple other really good moves for this team. Signing Emmanuel Sanders off the New Orleans Saints. Signing guys like Forrest Lamp, who was a decent guard for the Los Angeles Chargers over the past few years. Just little moves here and there that just were really good, and they filled holes that they needed to fill. Bobby Hart is going to be a decent just swing tackle for the team, who if they need him to step in, they can. They can have him step in. Matt Breida from Miami, who's still only 26 and one of the better young running backs in the NFL. Jacob Hollister is a really good tight end in today's NFL. So what they added to the team, even though they really didn't lose much, it was really easy for this team to supplement what they lost and even go above and beyond that and gain more than they lost this offseason. Now, this is the part where I kind of talk about what I think the Bills are going to do from a, season whole. They went 13-3 last year. They were first in the AFC East. They lost. They got all the way to the AFC Championship, even though they lost. Don't be surprised if the Buffalo Bills take a step back in terms of their record, even though there's 17 games this season. I really don't think the average NFL fan, or even a diehard NFL fan, understands how hard it is to win 13 games. It's really hard to win 13 games. Even in the 17-game season, it is really hard to win 13 games. Now, they do have a couple things in their favor. They are the best team in their division. However, their division has a lot of young blood in it. And when your division has a lot of young blood, you have a lot of guys coming at your neck. You're going to have the New England Patriots, who are, let's face it, the cream of the crop when it comes to the AFC East in the past 25 years. They are the team that has been the Death Star of the AFC East. We all know that. They have a young quarterback in Mac Jones, who is going to be gunning for that QB1 spot to help Bill Belichick get more Super Bowls. Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami. A lot of people are saying that he's a bust. I'm sure he's really ready to prove a lot of people wrong. Zach Wilson in New York. A lot of people are saying that the New York Jets are a terrible franchise. Even I think that. Everyone thinks that. I'm sure Zach Wilson is really ready to prove that he was the rightful pick for the New York Jets and bring them back to relevancy. And then when you look at teams that they are going to play outside of their division, they start off with a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They go against the Washington football team, who has an incredible defensive line, who is going to give Josh Allen issues. They go to Kansas City. They go to Tennessee. They go down to Jacksonville, who, even though, like I said, they're a bad team, they still have a young guy in Trevor Lawrence who's going to be looking to prove himself. They go to New Orleans. They go to Tampa Bay. This is a really tough schedule for the Buffalo Bills. This is really tough. If they end up winning 13 games, then that probably means that they're going to be the representative of the AFC in the Super Bowl. I believe that, because if they win 13 games with this schedule, they're probably the number one seed in the AFC. They're going to have a first-round bye. They're going to get a weaker team, probably someone like an Indianapolis Colts or a Tennessee Titans or maybe a Pittsburgh Steelers, who is not as talented of a team as they are. But like I said, don't be surprised if this team goes 10-7. Don't be surprised if this team goes 11-6. Don't be surprised if this team does not win 13 games this upcoming season. Because not only is the schedule already super tough, it's so hard to win 13 games. And when you pair those two things together, it's almost just a guarantee that this year compared to last year is almost going to be a letdown record-wise. Like I said, I still think this team is a championship contender. They're one of a handful of teams who is going to be in that race in the AFC to be the representative and go to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. I really think there's a good chance that they win the Super Bowl this year. But with that being said, almost every team in the AFC, almost every team that they're going to play is hungry to prove something. Every team is. And the Buffalo Bills already proved what they could do last year. But there's not a lot of guys on their team right now that have something to prove. Like a lot of other guys around the league and a lot of other teams that they're going to play this year have to prove. And I think that's going to be something that really creeps up on the Buffalo Bills this year. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't, make sure you leave a dislike. Any feedback at this point is much appreciated. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, go ahead. I'll try to respond to it if I see it. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.